If you have one app on your phone, on your iPad, use this one app. This is not a new app. This is an old app, but it's the greatest. And it's tried. It's true. It consistently updates. It upgrades. It does lots of different things. As a matter of fact, that's my one complaint. It does too much. I do a few things with this app that are really, really helpful. I had a question about this app that I wanted to address and just talk about some other things that make this a special product. All right. So the first thing it does is it's just a regular old tuner, right? And here's the thing. It's got a smiley face. It validates you, which is nice. So let me see what we got. So this does, let me show you how to set this up real quick. You can go over here and you can hit the transpose button. I have this on clarinet. You can just scroll through here and you can find the instrument that you want. We're B-flat clarinet. That means that the note here is the note that we're playing. The way it comes as a default is going to show you one step below. If it says B-flat, we're playing a C. They call this a B-flat clarinet. That is why. When we play a C, a sounding B-flat comes out. So if you're comfortable with that being a part of how it is that you interact with this, I would leave it there. That's the way I do it. But for simplicity today, I'm going to leave it so it shows the note that we're actually playing. The other change that you're going to want to make, I believe, is a change I make, and I would suggest it to you, is that we tap here, not there. We tap on the preferences down here in the lower right-hand corner. We get this menu up. You notice it says 441 in this menu that pops up. What is 441? That has to do with a very small gradation of whether it's sharper or flatter. If you heard a note that was 440, and then 10 minutes later heard a note that was 441, unless you've got perfect pitch or incredible recognition, you would not notice a difference. You would notice a slight difference if they were played right next to each other. Here's the thing. When we play clarinet, in most of the environments that we're in, we're not going to be playing at 440. We might tune at 440, but we're not going to actually play there. The situations where we might play at 440 would be with a piano that's tuned at 440 or a synthesizer that is sounding at 440. Most of the orchestras or bands that we play in aren't going to actually play there. They're going to play at 441 or maybe even a little bit higher. And that's what always happens. I mean, even if you tune at 441, everybody's instruments go up. What I have found for me is that 441 is a happy medium. I can get down to 440 if I'm playing in a rare situation where that's required of me. And I can go a little higher if I need to, and if that's required of me. So I choose 441 as the place that I put my tuner. I think you should too. Some people disagree with me, and you're welcome to. Just do it nicely. All right, so there we go. So that's how I have this tuner set, and I can just play notes, and it will show me if I'm in tune or not in tune on those particular notes. That's terrific, but kind of not that useful. It is useful if you're tuning in band, and you want to get a general sense. We tune one note. You can go to a tuner. You can find whether you're close to in tune. The bottom line is it doesn't really tell you much about, So it'll tell you about tendencies of your instrument, but as soon as you look at it and adjust, because we all adjust as soon as we look at it, it makes it almost worthless. It just gets you in the ballpark. Because we have to use our ears. And that's one of the things that this does. This does something spectacular. You can put it on sound. At the bottom of this, we have tuner, sound, analysis, metronome, and preferences. We're going to put it on sound. And here's what we're going to do. We're just going to play a drone. All of this part of the information is in another video about how to play in tune. I think it's a good video. I made it myself. Check it out if you haven't. It goes into depth on how to use this to actually play in tune. Right now, we're featuring a little bit more about what this app does and why it's so special. So you can make it sustain. So I can make it sustain on a C. I can also put a C an octave lower than that. So I've got two notes being generated. That is awesome. Because what happens when we play two notes against each other, we get what's called a resultant tone. And that is some mathematical equation. You subtract a certain set of kilohertz from another set of kilohertz, and another note comes out. And that's how we hear whether we're in tune. So let's check that out. I'm going to put octave 4, octave 5, and I'm going to play a couple notes. And what you'll notice is my notes don't line up exactly in tune. And that's a good thing, actually. Believe it or not, that's why we don't want to use our eyes. Because we want to use our ears. Because when we're playing notes, a major third should be 13 cents flat. That's just the natural order of things. A perfect fifth, C to G. That G should be 2 cents sharp. If we're playing a minor chord, the E flat, if we're in C minor, needs to be a little bit sharp, and that G remains a little bit sharp. That's how these things resonate in tune, and we need to use our ears to figure that out, and this is an incredibly powerful thing to do. You can make it play any combination of notes. Let's put it at C, whoops, C and G. You can actually hear, with those two notes exactly in tune, there's a little bit of a rub there. So we can hear these notes in context of other notes. And not just one note. Any tuner will play one note. This plays more than one note. You can play very complicated chords and practice hearing them in tune. That is incredible. I do a version of this. I practice my scales with these multiple note drones on because I can really get to hear my notes in context with other notes, which helps me play in tune based on my surroundings, not on my eyes. That's good. You should do that too. So the next thing that it does, and this is where the question came in the analytics section. A lot of the comparison videos I do with mouthpieces and reeds and whatnot, I compare the overtones. A brief flyover view of what an overtone is. An overtone is like a secret note inside your sound, my sound, your sound, everybody's sound, any note that gets generated. And you can't consciously hear the note, but it does create, whether we are making a bright sound or a dark sound or however we're going to talk about it, that's what's making those differences. Now, this reflects it. The purple is the fundamental, the note you're actually playing. And the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 16 are overtones that are generated above that. They're a little bit like ultraviolet light. You can't see it, but it's there, and it impacts our perception of the world. And this impacts our perception of the sound. So you can see, if you're changing equipment, what actually is it doing? And that's actually cool. And that way you can put a name. You can put a name to it. You can actually see what it is that you're hearing. Or maybe you've convinced yourself that you're hearing something that's not there. It's all very helpful in that regard. This is not a daily part of what I use this app for, but it is a part of what I do. And you can see all the different overtones that are generated. And that is it's a really useful thing if you're trying. I'm going to pull out a little bit because I was a little bit sharp. Okay. So that you do have to look at. You do have to look at, well, you don't have to. I mean, there's a way to record all this. This app does too much stuff. This app is useful in a lot of applications beyond what I use it for, but this is what I use it for, and I wanted to share it with you. So that is what's happening with this. There's also another way to see it with the spectral analysis, and you'll be able to see little things point up. All the little spikes that point up, those are the overtones. So you can see them. You can see them in your sound, and you can see how present they are. The bottom line is that is how we actually subconsciously hear whether we're in tune or not. The fundamental is important, but the way the overtones are generated and how they're lined up is where we're actually matching our pitch with other people and how the notes fit together in a very, very complicated way, far more complicated than I can actually scientifically explain, but that's the general gist of it. The third thing this app does, it's an important thing. We go to the metronome section. It's got a relatively complicated interface. I've got a solution for that. But here's what this does. We are going to click our metronome assistant. And it's this little guy in purple. Maybe it's a girl, this little person in purple. We're going to click him or her. And we're going to put on, this will, by default, will look like this. And then we're going to click the random beat silencing. And let's just put that at 26%, whatever. By the way, when I practice with just a metronome, I use a much different metronome than this. So if I'm just practicing, I just want a metronome clicking, and I'm practicing to try and get a little faster, so make sure I'm controlling my tempo. I use what I would say is the opposite, which is this. This is called a Franz bakelite. And this was made in the 50s. You plug it in, it doesn't connect to the world in any way. It just clicks. And you just move this thing. And every click is 5%. This is an old school metronome. Every click is 5% faster. And I love that. That's the way I like to control my tempo variation when I practice. I don't like to be able to move every number. But you know what this won't do? It won't randomly drop a beat. So that's what is a specialty thing that I do with this. I will have it randomly drop 26% of the beats. So if I'm going to practice my scales, etc., practice my scales, and with this dropping a beat, I'm going to turn that off because it's annoying when I'm trying to talk. Don't interrupt me. I have to interact much more actively with the metronome when it's randomly dropping beats, and I don't know when it's going to do that, just 26% of the time. Or, let's make it harder. Now it's 54% of the time. So sometimes there can be multiple beats dropped out, and then I'm totally in charge of the tempo. That's a good thing to check and have to be aware of and have to be active. It's really, really great to be able to not to be able to, but to have to do it. And that's how you figure out if you're able to do it. And if you can't, just back that down so that you don't have as many beats dropped. Maybe just start out with, I don't know, 16, less, whatever. So this interface has gotten less complicated over time. Click my metronome assistant off. This does so many more things than just the things I'm showing you. These are the features that I use. And you know what? This costs $4. And by the way, I couldn't figure out how to get an affiliate link to this, so I've got no financial interest in this. I get nothing. The link's down in the description. If you want to buy a box of reeds, please buy it from those links. I get a little bit of money from that. You don't pay any more. I get a little bit of money. It works out really good for everybody. You get your reeds, I get like 10 cents. That's great. But I get nothing from this. I'm going to put a link to this, but I don't get anything. What I get is my friends getting a good app if you don't already have it, or learning how to use this app. That's really all I care about, ever, really. We've got all that. I do want to show you one more app, which is called Time Guru. And Time Guru is a metronome that does exactly the same thing with a super basic interface. It's just this. And here's the thing. This does something slightly different that I like, which it gives you all the beats and gradually will start to add in the random beats until it's 100%. Right? You can see the gray bar. It's giving you all the beats so that you can get a solid tempo in, and then it'll gradually take them away from you. I don't know if you've noticed, I do sort of my own version of the Clarinet scales. It's not exactly what's written. Forgive me. The Tonal Energy app. Get it. Time Guru. Love it. Get it. These are not expensive products when it comes to ways to make our clarinet practice more effective. Hey, like and subscribe, would you? Please? Come on back. Watch some more clarinet videos with me. Thank you for being here. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you the next time on Clarinet Ninja.